Now available for the first time in paperback. Stop Simping in the Workplace. Men, learn what you need to know in order to protect your job from workplace predators with Stop Simping in the Workplace. Available in paperback at online booksellers everywhere. There's always that person on the job who wants to do extra. And this person, usually what they want to do on the job is do more than what their job description is, and they believe if they go out here and do more than what their job description is, they will be rewarded with management and possibly be put on a faster track to promotion. Now, there are others who want to do extra on the job and call themselves showing out as related to their behavior, and they too also want to believe they will be rewarded for going out here and participating in this extra behavior. However, when these individuals go out here and participate in this extra behavior and try to do more than what is expected of them, what they do is put themselves not on a fast track to success, but put themselves on a fast track to termination. Now, when it comes to the person who wants to go out here and do extra, this is a person who learned this whole dysfunctional frame of behavior way back when they were little children. Now, back when these people who were going to do extra on the job were little children, what they did was they would go out here and do more than what their parents asked of them or what their teachers asked of them, and they would get rewarded for doing more than what was expected of them, and that is really good within a family environment. However, once that child started to enter the classroom, what they were doing was not going out here and participating in functional behavior. No, what they were conditioned to start learning was to participate in what is called a covert contract. Now, a covert contract is where one person expects to get something in return for something that they do. However, they never explicitly explain what they want to get in exchange for what behaviors they participate in. And usually with covert contracts, individuals wind up deeply disappointed because they never really get what they want as related to the behaviors they participate in, and because they never told the other person what they wanted, they never really get what they want at the end of the day. Now, when it comes to the person who does extra on the job, the person who does extra on the job basically is getting into a covert contract with those at that job, and that covert contract oftentimes leads to these individuals not getting their needs fulfilled on the job. And they don't get their needs fulfilled on the job because what happens to these individuals is they never really told the boss what they wanted. Now, in the workplace, it is an interdependent relationship, and in that interdependent environment, people exchange their labor for payment, and that's where the people who do extra really get it twisted. They believe that if they do extra on the job and don't tell the boss what they're doing is extra, they are entitled to get more than what their labor is worth. However, oftentimes what they ironically wind up doing by doing extra is basically cheapening the value of their labor, and they wind up cheapening the value of their labor because what they do is go out here and do extra, and because they're doing extra more than what their coworkers are doing, what they are doing is basically lowering the value of their labor. And as they lower the value of their labor, many of these same individuals, what they are expecting is to get rewarded for doing extra. But the whole thing is that when somebody comes into an interdependent work environment, when they're having a job interview, what that individual is doing is basically making an agreement with those managers or those owners to agree to work for that labor for that price. It is just as similar as someone who receives God's gift of salvation, where Jesus talked about this in one of his parables, where he said that the person who came at the first hour agreed to a penny, and the person who came at the 11th hour agreed to the penny. Now, all those people basically agreed to do the same amount, to get the same wage for no matter what time it was. So it didn't matter if that person did extra all the people will receive the same wage, which was God's gift of salvation. This is what he was talking about. It didn't matter what time the person gave their life to Christ, they would still receive the same penny. And the same thing applies in the workplace when a person goes out here and agrees to employment. When you agree to employment, you agree to work at a job for a salary, and you also agree to meet the duties of that job for that salary. So there is no reason for you to go out and do extra on the job, since you're not going to be paid extra for the job. No, you are only going to be paid within the parameters of the terms you agreed to, so you only need to do the amount of work that you are required to do in that parameters that you agreed to. For example, if you agreed to work 8 hours, then you are only supposed to work 8 hours, and any extra that you are supposed to work, you're supposed to be charged, get overtime for, and you need to agree to that in the beginning of the contract that you sign with the company. Now, a lot of people, when they go out here and do extra, they think that if I do things like come in early, do stay late, and do even more than people ask me to do, this will show that you're a good worker and show that you are somebody who really cares about the company. But in actuality, the company doesn't care about this person, and this is where the person who does extra winds up getting deeply disappointed, and winds up getting deeply disappointed because the managers at that company are not interested in fulfilling that covert contract that that individual went out here and established with management that they never knew that they entered them into. So the person who does extra, oftentimes this is the person who will go out here and do the extra work, but then wind up getting disappointed or even angry when they get passed over for promotion, or they just wind up, in the case of a layoff, wind up getting fired. So this individual, they're sitting there thinking, oh, I'll do this extra, and if I do this extra, what will happen is the managers of this company will see me or she being diligent, and look, because they are diligent, think that they should reward them. But the whole thing is that you're looking to create that covert contract and not expressly saying what you want. And again, you can't go into a business situation thinking that things are implied, because in business, everything is directly expressed in the beginning. And that's how business works, because in an interdependent business relationship, everything is expressed clearly, so both parties know what they're going to get. The employee knows what they're going to get in the beginning in terms of salary. The employee knows what they're going to get in terms of benefits. The employee knows what their duties are, and they set a hard boundary with the employer that this is what they are going to receive and this is what is required of them. And if somebody wants extra, they have to pay for extra, because this is a business transaction. And with this being a business transaction, the only thing a person is going to do is their job. And if there's something else that needs to be done, then the employer will find somebody who will specifically do those jobs, not go and ask somebody to do extra. And again, the person who does extra basically is lowering their value, because basically when you go out here and do extra, what you're sending is a message that you are basically someone who does not understand their value as an employee. And two, what you're doing is telling the employer they don't need to value your work. So when you go out here and do extra on the job, it is not impressing managers, it is not impressing bosses, it is not impressing executives. It's just showing that you're a person who is somebody who is really naive, somebody who's really gullible, and someone who can easily be taken advantage of. It basically shows that you're not somebody who is someone who anyone needs to take seriously, because if you are serious about your job, what you'll do is stay in your lane and mind your business, and let those who have a problem go solve their problems, not get in the middle of other people's business, going out here to do extra, because nobody is paying you to do extra. And if they're not paying you to do extra, then you don't need to do extra at all. Now, another situation a lot of folks who do extra do is what they will do is then start to show out on the job. And you'll have people who are looking to do extra. They think, oh, if I show out on the job, again, this is a way that they can show bosses that they are somebody who can be a big time player. Now, people who do extra on the job like this, what they'd like to do is get loud with people, like to get bossy with people. They'll be a subordinate and they'll be like trying to act like a manager. But the whole thing is with that person trying to do extra is that what they do is do these extra things, and those extra things don't make them look like somebody who's serious about the job. No, they make them look like a person who's a liability, and that person doing extra oftentimes is a liability to the company. And what that person who does extra does is they wind up putting themselves on a fast track to termination, because when they call themselves getting extra with employees, extra with customers, extra with clients by being, again, loud, argumentative, and hostile, what they do is turn off people, and they turn off people because the extra stuff they're doing as related to their behavior basically alienates people. And again, here's another case where just simple communication would foster good business relationships, good business communication, like just basically being professional. That would foster good relationships. But the guy or the girl getting extra thinking, oh, I'll show out, basically what they're going to do is put themselves on a road to getting the door shown for them. And that's another way the guy doing or the girl doing extra on the job winds up putting himself on the unemployment line. Now, there's another group of individuals who like to do extra on the job, and these are people who like to step out of their job description. And again, here's a person who thinks, oh, I'll do extra, and think that they can go outside of their job description. What these individuals, they will go out here and do things that basically can put the company in jeopardy as related to its liability. And what this person will do is, again, stepping out of their job description, go out here and do things that put the company at risk. Now, when it comes to companies out here, in some cases, when they have certain jobs, you have to have certain trainings and certifications in order to do certain work. And yes, this person may know a little bit about something, but this person, because they want to do extra, want to call themselves touching things as related to equipment, or touching things as related to companies, as related to policy. They want to go out and go outside of the policy and outside of the certifications and the rules and regulations related to whatever's going on, whether it be an auto mechanic, whether it be a plumber, whether it be a computer technician. Again, what this person will do is they won't have the certifications, but because a customer asks them to do something, they want to get extra. And when they get extra, what they do is put the company at risk for a situation where somebody could get injured or somebody could wind up in a lawsuit. Because the man or the woman who knows what their job description is, if somebody asks them to do something in that situation, they will openly say, hey, I'm not certified to touch that equipment. I'm not licensed to touch that equipment. I am not it's not company policy for me to touch that job because that's outside of my job description. If you want someone to be able to deal with this, you need to contact my manager, and that will be the end of things. And if the person gets upset, they can get upset at the manager, and the manager will let them know, hey, that person's job is not to touch this because they are not licensed or certified to touch this, and there's a liability issue, and that basically takes the company off the hook at that point. But the whole thing is the guy who does extra, he wants to call himself helping out, and as they want to help out, what they do is, again, put that person in safety at risk and basically puts the company on the hook for a liability issue. And if something happens and it doesn't go wrong, what can happen is you can wind up getting fired. And again, that's why you don't do extra on the job. No, you don't do extra on the job. No, you do exactly what people pay you to do, because in the job market, there is no extra credit for doing extra. No, the only thing you're supposed to do is the minimum as related to your job. And as you do that minimum as related to standards, you do that to the best of your ability. You only operate on the job as related to parameters of the duties of your job, because the employer is only paying you to do what is inside of the requirements of your job description. And that's all you're being paid for, and that's all you need to focus on. Do not focus on extra, because extra will lead to you not getting more, but getting shown the door. Those who do more at the job get shown the door, and those who call themselves doing extra wind up getting X'd out as related to the workplace. So when it comes to the workplace is an interdependent environment, and in that interdependent environment, you are only responsible for what is in your job description, no more, no less. No, this is not like school where you can go out here and get a pretzel or a cookie for doing more than what your teacher asked you to. No, this is the real world, and in the real world, we do exactly what is in our job description. And if employers want someone to do something outside of that job description, then you tell them, no, that's outside of my job description. And if you want somebody to do more than that, then you need to go out here and either pay me what that person would be paid, or you need to go hire someone who does that kind of work. That is how you maintain your value as an employee on the job. That is how you maintain your value in the workplace, because again, if you're being paid to do a certain job, then you get paid for that certain job. For example, if I hire an artist to do a cover and they tell me they just want to do the pencils and inks, I pay them for the pencils and inks at the pencils and inks rate. But if they want to color that work, then they will put that in the price of that work, and I would also pay them an extra fee to color that work. But at the base, I'm paying for the line art, and if I'm paying for the line art is one rate. But if I want colors, it's another extra charge. Again, paying for the value of the work, paying for the value of the services. And again, that is how a business transaction works in an interdependent relationship. In an interdependent relationship, you pay per the task that you agreed to. Again, you pay for what is agreed, and the same thing for the laborer. You work for what was agreed, no more, no less, because nobody's going to give you extra if they didn't ask for extra. And again, what you do when you ask for extra, when you not ask for extra, but do extra without people asking you, is you basically lower the value of your labor, and you basically send a message to people that they don't need to respect you. But the way you take your respect is by setting boundaries, and part of those boundaries is saying that this is a line for the work that I do, that I will only be paid for what is asked for, and I'm only going to do what is asked for. And if somebody asks me to do more, then they're going to pay for more. Otherwise, the whole thing is that if you sell yourself, when you go out here and do extra without people asking for it, you're basically selling yourself short, and you're sending a message to everyone that you have low self-esteem because you don't value your work. But the whole thing is a person who values their work. They're not doing extra. They do what is asked of them, and they let their reputation and their brand build on doing what is asked of them. And what they do is so good as related to what's asked of them, what happens is people ask them for more jobs, and again, you get more jobs based on the value of your labor. And if you value your labor, you're going to do what is asked of you, and let your reputation flow based on what you have done as related to what was asked of you. Now, if you want to learn how to
build your career towards a road to success by identifying workplace predators and workplace pitfalls like the ones things like doing extra. You can pick up my book Stop Simping in the Workplace on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find Stop Simping in the Workplace at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. Now, if you'd like to see me do more workplace videos, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and Kindle, Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Learn how to avoid predatory females like Instagram models and e-girls in their virtual con games with Stop Simping in Cyberspace. Get your copy of Stop Simping in Cyberspace in paperback and Kindle today.
Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.